Hi guys, so welcome back to our Linux tutorial webinar. So we spoke about a few of these topics yesterday. So we spoke about the basic commands in Linux first, and then we spoke about how to manage files, and then I spoke about how to manage directories, right? And in today's session, we're going to talk about these topics. All right, I'm going to talk about Linux repositories, how to create tar files, how to compress files, and how to decompress files. And I'll talk about what are environment variables. I'll speak about regular expressions. And then another important topic that I'll talk about is that of processes, right? So how do you kill processes? How do you create a new process? How do you manage them? How do you set priorities there? And then I'll go on and talk about managing users, right? So user management is an important aspect of Salesforce administration. So I'll speak about that. And then I'll finally finish off today's session by talking about the SSH aspect. So SSH is used for networking. All right, so without wasting much time, let's just get started. All right. So working with Linux repositories. Okay, and it says that stable versions of most softwares will already be available in Linux repositories, and the command to install them is this. So you would have heard me say earlier that it's very easy to update software and the operating system itself by just running one simple command, right? You can update the software. So this is what I'm talking about. So you can just run one command. So this is the only command that you need to run. Okay, if you just give sudo yum install and if you give the package name, then that particular package will get updated. Okay, the sudo is something that you would recognize from what I told you earlier. The sudo is to we give it to execute this command as a root user. Okay, and if you see that there are two other lines, and the only difference between these three lines is the letter, that the word we are using here. Okay, so in the first case, in case of any Red Hat Enterprise Linux system or even CentOS, right, which falls under Red Hat, we use yum. Okay, but if it's a Debian based system like Ubuntu or Edubuntu, Xubuntu, or any other Debian Linux system, then you would have to use apt-get. Okay, and then if you're using a Fedora based system, then you got to use the DNF. Okay, so these are the three different commands. And these are that's because the repository name for RHEL, it's called as yum repository, and the repository name for Debian is called as the apt repository. Okay, and for Fedora it's called DNF repository. So that's why we say we will have to first give the sudo command, which would make sure that we execute this command as a root user. And from the command perspective, the first part would be calling or referring to the repository. Okay, so from the CentOS, it would refer to the yum repository, or from the Ubuntu, if I give apt-get, it would refer to the apt repository. And then we have something called as install. And when we say install and then follow that by package name, then that particular package will get installed. So for example, over here it is Java, right? I'm trying to show how to install Java on your system. So in this case, if you first give yum update, then it will first of all update your links to your repositories. Okay, it would update the yum command and the links that you have between the repository and yourself. So it's not something related to installation of Java. Okay, this is just another command that you specify if any of your installation fails. Okay, so this is not a compulsory command that you need to run. But besides that, what you have is yum install Java 1.8.0 - open JDK. Now the package name that you see here, right, that is Java. So if I want to install Java, then I would just give this particular package name and I would say install. Okay, because the package name of Java that's present in the Linux repository, that is called as Java 1.8.0 open JDK. And similarly, if you want to install any other software, right, if you want to install any other technology like Hadoop, then you can just give one such package name. You just got to find out what is the name of the package that they have in the repository. You can just simply Google it, and it will give you the package name, and you can just say yum install or sudo yum install followed by package name followed by Hadoop -2.0 or 2.3.0, or very soon Hadoop 3.0 is coming. So you can say Hadoop -3.0, something like that. And yeah, if it's if you want to install Docker, then again you can say sudo yum install Docker and probably the version name. I don't think Docker needs a version though. And for installing Docker, you can do it also through Ubuntu. Okay, so when I install Docker in my other Ubuntu VM, right, which I showed you earlier, so that VM has Docker installed, and the command that I ran that time was sudo apt-get install Docker, and that downloaded and installed the latest version of Docker that was available in the repository. Okay, yeah, so that is it. And once you're done with the installation, it would take quite some time to install. And once when everything is done, then you'll have to just update your environment variables. Okay, you have to set the environment variables over here in your .bashrc file. And once you set the environment path over there, then you can just do source, and then your software is ready. It's installed. Okay, now this was another step which I skipped out because this is not really necessary for you to execute this. Okay, I'll tell you why. Because this command, which is update -alternatives -config Java, it is only to select a particular version of Java. Now let's say that you're new to Linux, okay, and you're downloading Java for the first time. Then you just need to run this command. So after running this command, you can straight away just probably when you're done with this, Java's installed basically. Okay, but it's just that you need to go to your sudo. You should do sudo gedit, go to your bashrc file and update the path where Java is installed. Okay, you got to specify to your environment variables to your runtime engine that Java has been installed in this path. So you have to just copy the path of your Java and paste it in the environment variables over here. And then you have to source that particular bashrc. So when you're done with these two things, your Java is installed. Okay, but if you already have a Java package installed, okay, so in my case, when I'll be showing you this now, I already have a Java 1.7 package, okay. So now if I do a sudo yum install Java 1.8.0 open JDK, then I'll have multiple versions of Java, okay, and my environment variables would be currently set to Java 1.7 because that's what I already have. But since you have multiple versions of Java, and since there are different packages, you can have multiple packages of Java installed, but you can only run one of them. Okay, so you set which one you want to run, right? That one you set over here. Whether I want to choose to execute 7 or whether I want to choose to execute 8, that I can choose by updating over here. So I'll show you this command also. Okay, so that is what I want to show you with respect to Linux repositories. So similarly, you can even you can do a sudo yum install PHP. If you want to install a PHP server, you can just say PHP MySQL server. If you want to install any other software like wget, you can do that also. So this is what we are saying. It's very simple to install software. So if you're doing it with the GUI, then you'll have a lot of steps that you need to do. You need to go to the website, download the appropriate package, then extract them, then install them, all those things. So instead, this is just simpler and it's much faster. Okay, now let me go back to my terminal and show you how that is done. Okay, so I'm going to go to my CD, and the command is sudo yum install, and now would come the Java package. So the package I'm going to install is Java 1.8.0. okay, that's because Java 8 is placed with this name. Okay, so the package name of Java 8 in the Linux repositories is Java -1.8.0 -OpenJDK. Now when I hit enter, it asks for the password because this particular sorry for that, guys. When I use sudo to execute this particular command, then it asks for a password because I'm executing this as a root user. So that's why. If I try executing this as a local user, as my own user, then it wouldn't be possible to execute this command. Okay, I have to execute this as a root user, and root user is the one that has the ultimate privileges, the ultimate access. He has access to everything. So you just enter the password and put enter, then automatically your packages will get downloaded and it'll get installed. So now it says total download size is 33 MB, and it asks, is it okay to download it? Y stands for yes, and N stands for no. Now if it's you, when you're trying to download Java, when you give this command, you got to say Y and hit enter, because that would download the 33 MB package and install it in your Linux machine. Okay, but however, I have already downloaded Java, and since I've done it already, so I don't need to. Okay, I don't want to waste my time here because this is a session, right? I don't want to waste your precious time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on N and give enter. Is it fine, Siddharth, Hemant, all you guys who are in the session? Is it fine? Because I want to save some time here by hitting N, okay? Because otherwise it would take some time to set up the installation process. So, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm getting a yes from you both. All right. So I'm just going to click on no. Okay. So it says exiting on the user command. Great. Yeah, so the only thing you got to notice is that instead of N, if you put Y and if you hit enter, it would download for you and it would complete the installation. All right. And there's one more thing that I would actually like to add to this. Supposing while installing the same package, right, while doing the sudo yum install Java, this package, when you're trying to run this command, if you want this Y option to be chosen automatically, okay, because right now it entered into the interactive mode. Okay, interactive mode is when the kernel was asking you, should you download this and do you want to download this and execute it later? And I had to press N and get out of it. Okay, but however you might not want to. Okay, so there may be times when you might want to by default just click on yes. So what you can do at that time is you can just go back here, sudo yum, you have a flag here, you can just put -y, and if you then install it, then it will not ask you, it will not get into this interactive mode. So it will take this y flag, y option automatically, and it will install the Java package. So that is what I wanted to show you, that's what I want to tell you. So that's how you install Java. Okay, so now I've just cleared the screen, guys. Okay, so when you execute this command in your Linux machine, and when you finished downloading an installation of your Java, what you got to do is you got to set your environment variables. Okay, so as it was written in the slide, right, you got to give the sudo gedit.bashrc to enter into the bashrc file and set the environment variables here, the path to where your Java is installed. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same. And your .bashrc is something that will be present only in your home directory. Okay, so you got to remember to go to CD, and from CD you got to access that. You got to say sudo gedit space .bashrc. When you do this, it'll ask you for the password, but of course I've entered the password previously, so it didn't ask me. But yeah, when you do that, you will open this bashrc file. Okay, so right now my Java path is set to this. Okay, so this means when during runtime, when any application is using or requesting for Java, then it will look for Java in this path. So you just need to find out where your Java has been installed in your system. So it would most probably be in your user/lib/jvm folder. Okay, so let me go to the same. So it will be there under your root directory. So if you go to your My Computer from your file system, under the lib folder, we have various packages that will all be installed over here. Okay, so in my system, it's all installed over here. So this is the JVM folder, and inside here I have all the different Java packages which I have downloaded over a period of time. So guys, in this case, supposing, see, I have Java 1.7.0 OpenJDK installed. Okay, now in your case, you will have a Java 1.8.0 OpenJDK installed. So what you got to do is you got to just right click on that folder. Okay, similar to what I'm doing now. Okay, I'm going to right click and just click on copy and go here and paste the path over here. Okay, if anything is existing already, then remove that and paste the new path. So the path is nothing but where your JVM is located from your root. So it's in root USR library folder, and then inside library it's in JVM, and here this is the folder it's present in. Okay, and then you got to also additionally give the path to your bin directory. Okay, so you have this is your bin directory. So what you do is you right click on bin, again copy, go to your .bashrc. Okay, you got to paste it over here. All right, so this is how this is what you do. This is how simple it is. So when you do it, you just got to save it, and you got to close this .bashrc file. And when you're done with saving and closing it, just go back to your terminal and you got to run this command, source.bashrc. Okay, so when you do this, then your terminal will get synced with the updated environment variables. Otherwise, even if you don't run it, it's fine. You can just start executing your commands from a new terminal, then it would all be fine. But yeah, the source.bashrc is only to sync your environment variables with this particular terminal that is opened. Okay, so that's how you install Java in your system. Okay guys, so I'm just going to clear the screen now. Okay, and I'm going to go back to my slides. Okay, so I'm done with showing you how to work with Linux repositories. And the next topic that I'm going to talk about is that of tar files. So what are tar files? Okay, so all of you Windows users might be aware of this software called WinZip or WinRAR. Okay, what are they? What do they do? They are basically to extract your files, right? So they'll be in compressed form and you'll have to extract them. So in Linux, we have an equivalent format. So in Linux, it is either the tar file or the gzip and the gunzip files. Okay, so tar is the preferred option. So I'm going to show you how to compress and decompress a file with .tar format. But however, even gzip and gunzip is something that can be used. If you want to compress files with the gz format, okay, then you got to use this command. But however, if you're going to decompress it, then you got to give gunzip. Okay, and the syntax is here. Okay, but however, with tar, for both compressing and decompressing, you will use the same tar command itself. So you'll just have tar, and in the arguments there will be a minor change. So when you're compressing the file, you will have to specify -c. Okay, and when you're decompressing the file, you will have to give the flag -x. Otherwise, it's all fine. The V here stands for verbose, and the F here indicates that you want to compress the file that is mentioned followed by the command here. Okay, so this F just basically indicates that you got to compress this particular file. Otherwise, the kernel will be wondering for which file to compress, and it will throw an error to you later. Okay, so that is what the XVF here stand for. These are the different flags that are available with the star command. Okay, before I go and show you how to do the star, let me show you a place where tar files will be present. So in Linux, right? So no matter what kind of software you're downloading, whether it's a Java package or if it's a Hadoop package, if you're downloading them manually from the internet, okay, then you would get them in the .tar format, okay, or you might find them in TGZ format. Okay, so tar is something the most, I mean, I would prefer if you people download tar because that's the easiest. It's easiest to extract and also compress them. So you can just download the tar file. It's very common, and you can just by just running this one command, you can compress the file. So the Hadoop packages that are available on Apache's website, right, that would almost be around 2 to 3 GB, but the compressed format will only be around 100 or 200 MB. Okay, so same thing can be said for something like Tomcat if you're downloading the Tomcat package, or Nagios, so anything like that. So those packages would have a lot of MB, and to download them you will need to compress them, right? So because the lesser you download, the more you save on bandwidth. So it's also easier to transfer them in a compressed format. So for transferring especially, you use these tar files. Okay, you compress them into tar format, and then later when you're done downloading, you can extract them and bring them to regular file format. So I'll show you how that is done. So first of all, let me go to my terminal, and let's go to the documents folder. Okay, here I'm doing an ls. We have this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say ls-l. Okay, when I run this, you can see the different files and the size. Okay, you can see that the LMS folder, right, the LMS folder here, it has it's the highest. Okay, it's showing it's 4096 MB. So what we can do is I'm going to show you how to compress this and convert it into a tar file. So to convert it into a tar file, you got to say tar -cvf. Okay, X is when you're trying to decompress it, but cvf is when you're trying to compress it. So you're going to say tar-cvf, and then here comes the tar file name. So what do you want to be the name of the tar file? Okay, so I just want to have it as lms.tar. Okay, so this is the name of the file I want to keep, so I will put that here, and then you got to specify the file which you want to compress, whether it's lms or whether it's any other folder. So I want to do it for lms, so I can just say lms. Okay, and when I run this command, then this particular document would have been compressed and it's present. Okay, so if I do an ls now, you can see that there's an lms folder and an lms tar file. Okay, so this is the compressed version of this folder. Now when I do an ls-l command, you'll see that there's a new tar file that's created. Okay, lms.tar, and then you have this folder whose tar file this one is. So that's how simple it is, guys. And what you can do now is, if you can just transfer this file over FTP or via SSH, or just upload this to your internet and let people download this, because this is a smaller file compared to this proper folder. Right now, in case you want to extract a file, so in case you have downloaded this kind of a tar file, okay, from the internet, how will you untar it? What is a package to decompress it? So to answer that question, we can give the command tar-xvf and the package name. So in my case, it's lms.tar. So when I just do this and when I hit enter, then that package would get extracted. So now if I do an ls command, you can see that this particular tar file has been extracted, but you can't see two different folders because the existing lms folder has been rewritten. Okay, so it has been well, let's just say it has been overwritten, and that's why you can't see two different files. But yeah, as you can see, this was the process which was taken to untar the lms package. Okay, so that's it with respect to the compressing and decompressing of files. So let me quickly go to the next topic in my slide. Okay, so the next topic is that of environment variables. So what are environment variables? I told you that we had to set the environment variables in the .bashrc file, right, while installing Java. So what are they? As the definition says here, environment variables control the behavior of the software packages installed in Linux. Okay, the path where the packages have been installed will be specified in the environment variables. So if you're installing Java, okay, and if there is some other application which needs Java, let's take the example of Hadoop. Okay, So Hadoop is basically a Java framework. Okay, so the MapReduce concepts, it's all Java related, and you need Java to run Hadoop. Otherwise, it will not run Hadoop. So by just downloading the Hadoop tar file from the internet and extracting that tar file is not enough. Okay, what you got to do is you got to download Java also and set the environment variables for both Java and for Hadoop. So in our case, when Hadoop is running, because it's based on the Java framework, it would need Java to work, right? So at times it will ask the runtime engine, where is Java installed, so that I need some commands to be run on Java. So at that time, when the runtime engine is asked that kind of a question, it will go to the environment variables and it will look for the path over there. Okay, so that was the environment variables I was talking about earlier. Okay, you go and set your environment variables in your .bashrc file, and your .bashrc file can be accessed by going to your home directory. From your home directory, just run gedit.bashrc. Okay, and here you can set your path. So if you've installed Hadoop recently, then you can just set the path of Hadoop over here, and if you've installed Java, then you can set the path of Java over here. So basically, whenever any other application wants access to some program, right, so it can get access by looking at its path from here. So that's what the bashrc file is all about. Okay, that's what the environment variables are all about. So that was about the environment variables, and we have some of the most common environment variables are these. Okay, print env. So this will basically list or prints the list of all the environment variables. Okay, all or almost all the environment variables. That's what this will do. And then when you say echo, $home, this will print the path of the home directory of the user. So this HOME that you see here, this is a variable. Okay, and the path of your home directory has been specified over here. So whenever you press CD on your terminal, right, so it goes to the home directory, correct? So that is the home directory I'm talking about over here, and the path of that is what is set over here. So when you say echo $home, like I told you earlier, I showed you that echo will basically print whatever arguments you give, it will print it to standard output, right? So when you say echo $home, it will print the path of your home, whatever stored in this variable. And similarly, when you give echo $path, then it will print the list of all the directories in which the shell looks for commands. Okay, and all those directories will be separated by colon. Okay, so you'll have multiple directories which you will get as a result, and they will all be separated by a colon. Okay, and similarly for host name, whatever is the name of your host of your system, right, that will be printed when you give this, because this again is a variable, and this is all set as environment variables. Okay, and then you have username. Your username will be printed. So and when we say language, it's basically the language, right, in which the whole system works. It can be either Chinese or it can be English. So in our case, it'll all be English, right? So because we're all working on English, so it'll all print either US English or UK English, something like that. And when you say echo bash version, this will print the version of this instance of bash. So let's just go ahead and execute some of these environment variables. Okay, I'm just going to clear the screen, go to CD, clear the screen. And first of all, let's put dollar, or let's say echo. When you give echo, you have nothing. Okay, I showed you earlier that when you just put in echo and when you say hi, you will get hi as a return. The output will be hi. So similarly, when you say echo $x, right, I set the path of x to 100 earlier. So when I say this, right, x, I will get the value of 100 now. And similarly, the path of home will already be set. So if I just give echo and $path, then all the directories where the shell will look for to execute commands, those paths will be present here. So scoop is located over here in this bin path, and separated by a colon, we have the next thing. So I have installed pig in my system. So pig is installed here. Uzi is installed here. Hive is installed here. Okay. And similarly, if you see Java is installed here. Okay. And Hadoop 2.2.0, that's installed over here, right? And similarly, there are all the directories where your shell will look for, right? They will all be specified in this path. So similarly, you have another command that is for home. This will print the home directory, and my home directory is home/Edureka. You can also alternatively print your host name, right? So my host name is localhost.localadmin. Okay, so this is my host name, right? So my basically my host name is localhost. So that's what's being printed here. And when I say echo and follow that with language, okay, with a dollar, then it would print the language. So this is using English, US English, okay, UTF-8. So that's what this means. And in case if you want to print the list of all the environment variables, then you can just run this command, print env. Okay, so all the environment variables that are there in your system, they will all be displayed here. Okay, so that's it with respect to environment variables. Let me get back to my slides now and continue with my session. So going on to the next slide, now I'm going to talk about regular expressions. Okay, so regular expressions or regex, they are used to search through data. It can be piped along with the grep command to find patterns of text in the file. Okay, now what this means is that you'll have multiple different files, or a lot of data in probably even one file. Okay, with the help of regular expression, what you can do is you can search for patterns of that data. So you can use the grep to search through data, and you can use the regular expressions to search through patterns of data, that kind of a pattern. Supposing you have a spelling mistake in the middle. Okay, supposing the spelling of apple is apple, okay, and you might have made a mistake in one of the files. You have saved it as aple, okay, and you're not able to find when you're using apple apple, you're not able to find that actual string. Okay, then it's you'll be wondering why you're not able to find it. Okay, then you'll realize that okay, it may be because the spelling that I would have entered in the file, it's that might be wrong. By mistake I would have entered aple. So in that kind of a situation, you can use regular expressions to find patterns of text in the file. So you're all aware of the pipe I spoke about earlier, right? You can use the pipe to use one operation's output as the input to another operation, right? So you can use that, and you can use the regular expressions with the combination of grep. Okay, with the combination of grep command. So we have a lot of regular expressions, and the most common of them are these. Okay, so the dot here, it basically means it can replace any character. Okay, it can mean any character, the dot. So and then you have the caret symbol here. So the caret symbol here, it basically matches the start of the string. Okay, now what that means is let me give you an example. Supposing you're doing a cat file1.txt, you're looking for some kind of data inside this file1.txt, and you're using the grep command to search this data. Cat will basically list down all the file contents. Grep will search that data. And how will it search? When you give a, it will just display all the lines or all the words where a is present. But when you give caret a, it means that the starting of the string starts with a. Supposing I have 3 different lines or 3 different strings in my document, in my file1.txt. Okay, supposing I have abc, afg, and adf. Okay, and if I give caret a, then the result that will be out would be given back to me is those 3 lines, because those 3 lines are starting with the character a. So that's what this character means. It matches the start of the string. Okay, so that's about caret. And similarly, if you want to match something with the end of the string, you can use the dollar symbol. And supposing you know that this particular word or string that you're searching for, it ends with xt. Okay, in that case, you can put xt, and then you can suffix that with a dollar. Then all the strings in that particular file, which are all the strings in that file which are ending with xt, they will be displayed. Okay, so that's how you can search for data. And similarly, if you give asterisk, asterisk basically means that the character that is preceding character is it matches 0 or more times. So let's take an example of this. Okay, now in this case we have a in front of the asterisk. Okay, so the asterisk basically means preceding character matches 0 or more times. Supposing I have 2 different strings in my file. Okay, one string is abc and the second string is def. So then comes the asterisk. Okay, so when you give asterisk, it basically means that the preceding character, it occurs 0 or more times. But however, if you give a question mark, it means that the character that comes preceding before the question mark, that appears exactly 1 or it can appear more times. Okay, and then you have these brackets here, which can be used to group these regular expressions. Supposing you have more than 1 or 2 regular expressions, you can use them to group them. And again, the backslash here, it represents special characters. Okay, so let me just run a couple of examples of this for you. Okay, let me go to my terminal and go to my home directory. I'm going to clear the screen. I'll go to documents. Okay, so in here I have my 3 different text documents: automobiles, file1 and file2. So if I do cat and automobiles.txt, then I have a list of all these strings, right? I have the list of all the cars and bikes and the different automobile companies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say cat automobiles.txt, and I'm going to use a pipe. I'm going to use a grep command to search for strings starting with the letter A. Okay. So if I give A, then all the strings where there is A present, that will appear. Okay. Now first let me show you without the regular expression. So when I give A, then these are the strings where A is present. Okay. However, if I give grep -v, then it will list down those strings where A is not present. Okay. So you might see A present in these two things, but the truth is it's looking for small a. Okay, if you want case insensitive searching, then you can just use I also. All right. So you can see, as you can see from here, in these four strings, A is not present, right? So that kind of searching is what we need to do. So I can use a regular expression to search for those strings starting with a particular character, okay, by using the caret command. So in if you take this example, so these are the list of strings in which A is present, right? So in here, where is A starting? Okay, so A is probably starting only in this one particular string, okay, but maybe also over here, but because I haven't included the in case insensitive, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this V once. I'm going to print it. Okay, I'll just do a Control L and execute it again. So now if you see all the strings where A is present, whether it's a capital A or small a, those will be listed here. Okay, and now I can use a regular expression to basically filter out those letters or those strings which are starting with A. Okay, by specifying this command. Okay, so I have to ideally get the answer I should get is Aprilia, Audi, and Amber. Okay, so when I hit enter, okay, so there's a space here, so that's the problem. And as you can see, it says that there is no string that's matching with this A. Okay, now that's because I removed the hyphen I. Okay, I removed the hyphen I, which stands for case insensitive searching. So it basically returns that it's not returning any result here. So that basically means there was no search. But however, if I add a hyphen I, okay, hyphen I, and enter, then I will get these three as my results because I've added the case insensitive searching here. So did you all guys get this concept here of using a regular expression of this is caret. Okay, this matches the starting of the string. Now I can do something similar. I can search for the end of the string. Okay, now let's see again, if I use A itself and if I give $, then it will look for all the strings which are ending with A. Okay, so that's happening because of this problem. The whole $A should come inside brackets. Okay, I should be in quotation marks. So that is the thing. So when I do this, I'm not getting any result. So similarly, I can execute another command. Okay, so another one involving regular expressions of asterisk. So what I'll do is I'll say grep -n. Let's say I want to search for the character A itself. Okay, so when I say A in asterisk, so it when I use this asterisk, it basically means 0 or more occurrence of A. Correct. So I'm going to search for that from here, and then I have to specify the file name over here. So I'm not using any cat command, and I'm not using a pipe to get data in over here. Okay, so I'm just going to display the number of times that happens by specifying the file name here. I'm going to say automobiles.txt. When I hit an enter, I get all the occurrences where 0 or more times A is occurring. Okay, so that is one aspect, and the other command that I can show you is that of with respect to echo itself. So I can run an echo inside flower brackets. I can say A to Z. Now when I print this, okay, sorry, there should be just two dot symbols. So when we say two dot symbols, it basically fills the characters, the sequence of A, B, C, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, the entire alphabetical sequence. That will happen, as you can see. So that's because there were just two dots specified. But had there been three, this wouldn't happen. Okay, it would just display this whole thing again. So the thing you got to note is that the regular expression that we are using here is this one, two dots. Okay, so similarly you can replace it with even numbers. So we can have 89 and you can say 33. So from 33 to 89, all the numbers will be the sequence of the numbers will be present here. You can also have combinations like I can have say P over here and I can have an A over here. Yeah, when I do this, the combination of A with all of these numbers would be visible. So as you can see, so A33P, A34P, so things like that, right? So patterns are also being generated. So that is the advantage with some of these regular expressions. Okay, so I'm just going to clear the screen now and go on to the next topic. Okay, So we are done with regular expressions now, and this takes us to the final part of this Linux demonstration, okay, this Linux webinar. And here we are going to talk about processes, adding users, and SSH. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so guys, processes is something that's really important from the administration perspective of Linux. Okay, well, it's basically something that's a necessity, not more than an important thing. It's basically a necessity. You should know what this is. And when I say processes, I'm pretty sure that you know that we are talking about the programs or instances of programs, right? So anything that you start on your system, so whether you're starting a web browser or whether you're using a media player, so every software there, it will have a process involved. Okay, there can be multiple instances of that particular project. Supposing I'm viewing a presentation on my computer. Okay, supposing I'm seeing 5 different presentations at the same time. I can see only one at a time, but I can have the remaining open and I can put them in the background, right? So that's what we mean. So the different instances of that particular system can also be considered as a process. So at any point of time, only one application or only one process will be in the foreground, okay? But many such instances of many softwares or also of that particular software or program can be present in the background. Okay, so the example of that is me opening 2 Chrome browsers. So I can have 2 different Chrome windows, and one can be in the background, one can be in the foreground. Okay, so similarly PPTs or whether it's a media player, anything like that. So that's what a process is. Okay, now going by definition, an instance of a program is called a process. All right, any command given to the Linux kernel starts a new process, and there can be multiple processes of the same program. There can be multiple processes. When we say processes, it basically means instances. So we can have any number of instances of any of your application, right? Of Chrome or of VLC media player, of all those things. You can have multiple such instances at the same time, and all these instances are referred to as processes. Okay, official term is processes, and each of those processes have some process ID. Okay, so yeah, like I told you, they'll be divided into 2 different processes. One is the foreground processes and the other one is the background processes. Okay, so how will you determine what are the different processes that are running in your system? In Windows, you can just do Control-Alt-Delete and then you'll get the list of programs, right? And you can even terminate them. You can end the programs from there, right? So you have different tabs. So let me show you an example of that. Okay, so this is my Windows system, okay? And when I do Control-Alt-Delete, it starts my task manager and it asks me for applications or processes and all these things. So this is the process that I'm talking about, okay? You can have any number of processes running in your system, okay? You might not be aware of all of those things. So yeah, anyways, some may be started by you and some may not be started by you, right? Some may be started at system boot, and some of those processes might be started by you when you're running some command. So that's what this is. So every time you specify a command in the terminal or the kernel, that will boot a program or a software, and that will also alternatively start a process. Okay, and every time you start it, you will have a new process defined. And if you want to see the list of all the processes running in your system, then you can use this top command. Okay, and what you get followed by that will be the list of processes and their PID, their username, their priority, all these things. So I will talk about all these aspects in some time. So let me first show you the different things and how they look in the Linux in my VM. Okay, so I'm going to run here. I'm going to run the top command, and when you do that, you can see that you have something called as PID. We have user, you have PR, you have a whole taskbar, and you have with respect to which software is running, which program is running, what is the application name, and all these things. Okay, so right here you can't probably see anything that I have created on my own, okay, except for this VirtualBox client and maybe the terminal. Okay, but if you want me to create one, then I can also create one. So what I'll do is I can just end this here by pressing Control C. I can get out of this top, and what I'll do is I'll create a Firefox instance. Okay, so Mozilla Firefox is installed in my system, and through my terminal, I will start Firefox. Okay, when I hit enter, my Firefox has been initiated. Okay, see, now I did not make any change. Okay, I did not touch the Firefox icon, but instead of that, on its own, Mozilla Firefox opened. That is because I hit Firefox and I put enter in the terminal. So when I did that, the Firefox opened. Okay, now I can just minimize this. And if you go back to the terminal, you'll see that I'm still inside, the terminal is assuming that I'm still working on Firefox. Okay, I've still not ended Firefox over there. So when I close Firefox, that's when I'll come out of the terminal over here. But instead of doing all that, I can simply do Control Z or Control W. Okay. When I do Control Z, it means that I'm stopping my Firefox instance. Okay, so whatever Firefox browser that was open, that is stopped. The process, however, would not be stopped. The process would be running in the background. Okay. Now, supposing I want to push it, if I want to bring it to the foreground, I can just say FG and I can give Firefox. Okay. This will again initiate Firefox for me. But otherwise, I can just close it and I can push it also to the background. I can say BG and I can say Firefox, and if I give enter, then my Firefox has been pushed to the background. So now what I'll do is, let me run that top command again. And if you see over here, the Firefox was not visible. Okay, but since I started and pushed my Firefox to the background and all, since I've done all these things, my Firefox will be visible in this list of processes. Okay, now seems like I've sent it to the background, right? So that's why it's not coming. So let me hit Firefox again, and it's opened the terminal now. And what I'm going to do is, of course, it's in the background, so I'm going to run the top command again and show you that Firefox is here. So we have the Firefox here, right? As you can see, there's a Firefox process that, of course, keeps moving up and down, and it's all sorted by the priority that each process has. Okay. So yeah, so every single instance or every single program or application that you start, right? So they will be started in this way, and they will have a process ID associated with them. They will have the time for how long they've been instantiated. They'll have the CPU memory they're using, the virtual memory they're using, and all these things. Okay, so let me explain each of these things by going to my slide first. So if I go back to my slides, okay, as you can see here, these are the different blocks that you saw earlier, okay, on the terminal. So the first PID stands for the process ID. So each process that is initiated, which will have a unique process ID. Okay, and the user here is the name of the user who started that process. And PR is refers to the priority of that process, because every process that is running in your Linux, it will have a priority associated with that. Okay, and the greatest priority process is what will be executed first, and that will be executed at the top. And then so along with the priority of that process, you have the niceness value. So niceness value is again, the value ranges from -20 to +20, and even the priority value it varies from -20 to +20. Okay, so basically the niceness value is somewhere it's opposite to priority. Okay, so the lesser the nice value, the greater will be the priority of your process. You can also manually set the niceness value of your process to increase the priority. If you want to give a particular program or a particular process more priority, then you can probably decrease the niceness value, and that will lead to the increase in priority on its own. So that's what this is. And then after that, you have this VRT block. Okay, so VRT stands for virtual memory, RES stands for the physical memory, SHR stands for the shared memory, S is the status of the process. So that's what S is. So S speaks about the status of that particular process. Okay, and then percentage CPU is about the percentage of the CPU time. Okay, and percentage of the memory, of the physical memory that's being used. Okay, and then you have the time block, which refers to the total CPU time that this process has been running for. And then finally you have the command. Okay, and then after the command, you will have the process that is actually running. Okay, so let me just quickly go back to my thing here. So the command is basically the application that's running. Okay, so yeah, that's about the different processes. I'm just going to end this top by giving Control Z. When I give Control Z, this stops, and I can just clear my screen. So that's about my processes. Okay, now I showed you how the top command works. Okay, now along with that, if you want to see the list of all the processes that are running, okay, then you can see that by running this command ps space ux, or you can do this, or you can even run ps-pid. So when you do that, you will only get the list of processes that are being started by you. Okay, so you're the user, I'm the user, and my name is Edureka, right? So all the processes which I have started, right? So all my processes will be visible. Of course, the other user's process will not be visible to me. It will be only visible for him. Okay, so I can also give PID, otherwise PS PID. Okay, the PS UX, it basically displays the process that you have started. Okay, so you any program or anything that you've started, that you can see it here. You can see what is the percentage of the memory that's being used because of that process, what is the process ID for that particular process, and all these things. Okay, so similarly, if you have anything else, So that's what this command does. Okay, the next thing that I want to tell you is that of finding the PID of a particular process. So you know that we've started a particular process. Okay, we started the Firefox process that time, and what I can do is I can find out the PID of that particular process by giving this command PID of, and what is the name of the process. So in my case it's Firefox, so I'm just going to give PID of and Firefox. That will give me the PID of that particular process, 5836. Okay, I'm going to clear screen. Okay, I'm going to run the process again. Okay, I'm going to start Firefox again, and when I do this, there is a new instance of Firefox that starts. Okay, so a new process would have started by now, and when I just give Control Z, I'm kind of stopping my process. And now if I give ps-ux, then you can see here that there's a new Firefox process that starts, that's running. Okay, the ID is 6060. Okay, you can verify that by also giving by seeing what is the answer that I get, PID of Firefox. When I do this, I get 6060. So that is what this is all about. Okay, and if you see the status, it's also showing as TL. Okay, this means that I've terminated that process. Okay, so process of Firefox has been instantiated. It has a PID of 6060. Okay, and if I want to kill this process, then I can give the command kill 6060. All right, great. So that's about the different processes that I want to talk to you about. Okay, so what's next is let me go back to the slides and talk about the next topic. All right, so I spoke about processes here, and the next topic is this is the penultimate topic actually, and I'm going to tell you how to create your own users. So you can create users by this command, simply saying sudo user add and the username. Okay, if you want to set password to that person, then you got to say password and the username of that password, and then it will prompt you to set a password for that person. And similarly, if you want to delete that particular user, you can say user delete and then the name of that username, whichever you want to delete. Okay, but one thing is that you got to always use sudo before that, because these commands cannot be executed by users like us. Okay, we need root access for that. We need only root users who have super user permissions can do this. So that's why we use sudo and we enter the password for it. Okay, now one thing you need to note is that when a user is created, then by default he's also added to a particular group. Okay, sometimes there'll be a default group to which that person will be added. And if you want to add a user to a particular group, then you can just do that by using the user mod command. Okay, you can say user mod -g. G represents the group, and then you can say the group name and the username. So the group name that you want to set, and followed by the username of that particular person. Suppose you want to add your own groups, then you can do that by group add and group name. And then if you want to delete them, it's again the same thing. Okay, after this process, then again you can assign them a different group. Okay, so let me just show it to you on my terminal. Okay, so the first command is adding a user, right? So before anything, let me just go to system, go to administration, and user and groups. It asks for a password. Okay, I'm giving OK. When you go there, you see that there are two users currently. So Edureka and Uzi. So these are the two users, and in groups again there are Edureka and Uzi. So there are two groups here also. Now if I want to add users, I can add it from here. Okay, I can click on add user and I can give the username, I can give the full name, password, and all these things from the GUI. But the CLI is a more simpler version where I can just supply a command. Okay, so I'm going to say user add space. I can give the name of the user. So if I want to create a user for myself, okay, I can give this name, user add Vardhan. Okay, but of course it's not going to work because it would say we need sudo access, permission denied, right? So what I'll do is I'll give sudo access. It asks for the root password, and when you give the password, you don't have any argument. So that means your user has been created successfully. So if you go back to system and administration, and if you go to user and groups, you'll find that there's a new user that's added, and the user ID is 502. Okay, now let me just minimize this for now. Similarly, if you want to set a password for this user, because right now it might not have a password, and if you want to set a password, then you got to run this command sudo password and the username. Username is Vardhan. So I'm going to do this, hit and enter. It will say changing the new password for the user. Okay, and let's say the new password is this, and it will say retype the new password. I can give it here, and then the tokens are updated successfully. Okay, password is updated successfully. So that's what this is all about. So if I go back to this user window and if I click on Vardhan, then you'll know that there's a password that's been added over here. Okay, this is what I added from here, and you'll also notice that there's a new home directory that's created for that person. So all these things, right? So that's about creating a user. Supposing you want to create a new group, then how will you do it? Similarly, just say group add. So I'm going to say sudo and then enter this. So the group has been added successfully. And if I go back to under system, under administration, under users and groups, if I go to groups, now even inst is something that's created. So this Vardhan is something that got created now, because as and when you create a new user, right? When you create a user without by specifying any group, then automatically is added to a group. So a group is created automatically when a user is created, and it is the same as the username. So that's how this got created. But anyways, this is the new group. So I'm just going to do Control L, and same way, if you want to delete any users, it's again a very simple process. You can just do a sudo and user delete and the name of that user. Okay, if I want to delete Vardhan, then I can do this. Yeah, so I'm not able to delete it right now because Vardhan is currently logged in. So if I just log off from this VM, and if I log in as Vardhan and log out from there, and then as a root, if I execute this command, then I would be able to delete this user. And the command is very simple. This is the command, and you can all try it at home. All right. And similarly, if you want to delete any group, again, the command is simple. It's group delete, and then the name of the group, that is inst, okay, which I created. So if you do this, the group has been deleted now. Okay. Yeah, as you can see now, inst is not visible. Okay, so that was the previous window. I hadn't refreshed it. So now if you see, inst is deleted. So that's how you delete the group, and that's how you delete a user. All right, so that brings us to an end to this topic. So I'm just going to clear the screen, and what I can do is I can just go back to my slides and get started with this final slide of mine. So guys, this is the last topic for today. That is the secure shell. Okay, it's also called the SSH, and this is for gaining remote access of a system. Okay, so you can get access to a system which is remotely located. So without you physically accessing that system, you can get access through this SSH server. Okay, so that's what the SSH does. Okay, it's called secure shell. The connection is called secure shell connection. So all the other topics in this session, right, today's session, they were all basic stuff which any user could learn. But this SSH is something it's a little advanced, and this is with respect to networking. Okay, it's a thing that people would look forward to. Okay, so if it's if you guys are waiting for a long time, and if you're feeling bored in the session, then this is something that's going to be a little more fun. You're going to do something real time, and you're going to see something incredible happen here. Okay, by pinging and accessing some other machine. So first of all, how does secure shell work? So we have two different systems, right? But in my case, it'll be two different VMs, and in general, it'll be two different systems which are remotely located, and you can get access to them by the help of this SSH. And how is that possible? By setting the IP address and all those things, right? You set the IP address, and in two different places. You set one system as the master, and you set the other system as the slave. And you basically, what you do is you have something called as the etc hosts. Okay, so you go to this file, and you set the master and the slave IPs over here. Okay, you'll have to set up this IP for the master and this IP for the slave machine, and then you can do the ifconfig or the IP adder show to list down the IP address of that particular machine. So if it's something other than what you want to set, then you can just do that by deleting the existing IP table, running this command in both the machines, and then to add an IP address to that machine, you can run this command, sudo IP adder add, and the IP address you want to add. Okay, so remember to set the mask for that, and when you enter this command, this particular IP address will be set for that particular node. Okay, so that will be the master's node, and set this IP address for the slave node. Okay, the command will be the same, but before that you got to delete the IP address, the existing one, by this command, and then add the new IP address at the slave end with this command, and then simply just type SSH master or SSH slave. Okay, so when you do that, your secure connection would be established, and if you see the username, then you realize that okay, you're logged in into the different system. Okay, that's what I want to show you now, and that's what I'm going to do it. But before that, you might have some problems like firewalls and stuff like that. Okay, if you have a firewall, you can still set up an SSH connection. Okay, but the problem is you will have to generate RSA key and all. And I don't want to do that because it's a little more complicated. And since you people are beginners, I just want to show you by turning the firewall off. Okay. And to turn the firewall off, what you got to do is you got to drop the IP table. Okay. It will just stop your IP table, and this command will permanently disable your IP table. So this is with respect to Linux. So when you do these two things, then you can get started. All right. So let me go to my VM and show you what are the two different machines that I will be pinging to. Okay. As you can see, so this is the VM which I was working on, right? So let's say cancel, and I'm just going to minimize this terminal. Okay. And let me just close every other file and folder. All right. This is my terminal that's minimized. So if you can see here, you have something called as master written, right? So this is the master machine. And if I go back to my virtual box, you can see that this is the machine that's already running. Okay, now this is the slave machine which I will ping. So I need to instantiate this slave machine also. And even when you are pinging two different machines, two remote machines or two machines in the same VM, then what you got to do is, you got to turn on both, and you got to set the IP address in both the places, and then you got to ping them from there. So let's just wait until the slave opens. All right. When it's launched, we can start with our commands. But in the meanwhile, I can just go to my master terminal, and I can go to the terminal and start executing my IP tables. Okay, so let me check if my connections are all running. Let me click on this. Okay, now that both my network connections are on, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if config. Okay, so when you do an if config, you'll get this kind of an output. Okay, so your eth0 is your NAT address, is your network address translation. Okay, and your eth1, in my case it's eth1, but generally you people will not get an eth1 because this comes when you're running a VM. Okay, so I have set up a bridged adapter. Okay, host only adapter actually, where between my two VMs. So I have a master VM and a slave VM, right? Yeah, since there are two VMs in the same machine, I need to set different IP addresses for both the VMs, right? So that's when eth1 comes into the picture. Otherwise, in your case, if you're running Linux and if you run this if config tab, then you will not get eth1. You will only get eth0, or you'll just get one option. You'll get l0 and you'll get eth0. Okay, and this l0 basically represents the NAT address. Okay, so this 10.0.2.15, this basically is your IP address which you need to use to connect to the internet. So if you don't get an address over here, then it means you're not connected to the internet. Okay, so that's what this means. And right now my eth1 address is 192.160.56.2. Okay, and similarly, if I go to my slave VM, let me just log in here first. As you can see from here, it's a slave VM. And if I launch my terminal, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run the command if config again, right? So right now it says that my okay, I don't have an inet address. Okay, my network is not connected. Okay, I have eth1 connection, and that is 192.168.56.2. okay, but my NAT address is not set, so I think I'm disconnected from the internet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on system eth0, and when I do this, I'll be connected to the internet now, and I'm going to run this command again. And now if you see, I have the NAT address. Okay, so this is my network address 10.0.2.15, and in case of my master VM, 10.0.2.15 was again the NAT address. Okay, it's the same, but however the eth1 would have to be different. Okay, I mean, whether it's different or not, I need to change my eth1. But now what matters is I need to ping my slave from my master, right? So I need to drop whatever IP address is there right now. So if this is the IP, then I have to drop this IP. So even in your case, by default there will be one random IP address. You can drop that IP address by running one of the commands which I showed you in my slides. I'll show you that again. Similarly, you got to do the same thing at even your master's end. You got to drop the IP with the eth1 IP address, and when you've done that, you can set your new IP address. So you will be setting two different IP addresses, one for your master and one for your slave. Okay, this you'll be setting one over here in this VM, and you'll be setting one over here, and that address will be over here. Okay, so I'll make my slave as 192.168.56.3. okay, so I'll drop this one and I'll update it as .3. And in fact, master can be the same. 192.168.56.2 can be the the IP address of my master slave. Okay, so I'll use these two things, and once I add these two IP addresses to the etc/hosts file, then I can start pinging them. Okay, I can start pinging them, and I can get remote access to them. All right. So what I'll do is I'll first clear the screen, and I'll go to my slave, and again I'll do the same thing. I'm going to clear the screen now. So going back to my VM, the first command that we got to run is we got to drop this particular IP address. So to delete the IP address, we have this command sudo IP adder delete, and then whatever the IP address is. Okay, so here this was the IP address, right? I want to drop the eth1 address. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here. I'm going to say dev eth1. Now when I hit enter, this particular IP address will be dropped. Okay, this is the password. Okay, now if I again run ifconfig, you can see that I don't have an eth1 address. That's because I dropped it over here, correct? Let me just show it to you. That's because I dropped this particular address. Okay, now similarly, let me run the same command in my slave also. The command is IP adder delete. The IP address over here is 192.168.56.2. okay, so this is the same here also. So I'm going to just paste it here and say dev eth1. When I give enter, okay, I need to give sudo, so that is a problem. So I'm going to give sudo IP adder. It asks for the password. There you go. And yeah, my IP address has been discarded. Okay, now if I again run the ifconfig, you can see that eth1 again does not have any IP address. Now what I need to do is I need to set my own IP address over here. So let me first set the IP address over here itself in my this slave VM. So to add the IP address, the command is almost the same, except that instead of delete, you will have to put add. Okay, and you'll have to specify the IP address you want to set. So I want to set 192.168.56.102. okay, I'm going to say that 102, and then I need to give a mask. So if you remember, I told you that we need to give a mask, so it'll be /24, or let me give 103 because this is the slave, right? I can give 103 here, 103/24. When I give enter, the IP address would have been added. So if I do the if config, now you can see that eth1 has this address 192.168.56.103. This is what I added some time back, right? This is what I added here. Now similarly, I need to go back to my master VM, and I've deleted the IP address from here. I need to add the IP address here, the new one. Okay, so the command is add 192.168.56.102/ the mask. That's 24. Give enter. Okay, now let me check the if config. As you can see, the IP address for my eth1 is there. It's up and running now. It's 192.168.56.102 over here in this case. Okay, now now that I've done this, there's one more important thing that I need to do. I need to add my IP addresses to the etc/hosts file, which indicates to both the VMs where the master is and what is the IP address of the master and what is the IP address of the slave. Okay, now that I've added this one, so let me just copy this address. I'm going to copy this, and I need to set this address of the master and similarly the address of the slave in the etc/hosts file. Okay, how will you access the etc/hosts file? You need to first go to your home directory, and from here, okay, let me clear the screen. Home directory. So here you got to give sudo gedit/etc/hosts. Okay, when you hit enter, you'll open this file. Okay, this file is called hosts/etc file. So in here, I've already set my IP addresses. Okay, now I can just delete it for namesake, and I can just copy paste what I had copied. So it was 192.168.56.102. This is the IP address of the master which I wanted to set. Correct? If you see here, this is the IP address that I added now, and I'm adding this IP address .102 to the host. I'm going to add that as master. And similarly, if I go to the slave, the IP address is 192.168.56 and 103. Okay, now I need to go to the etc file, and since that is a slave, I got to set the IP address for the slave, and of course even the slave IP is already set, but I'll just update it and save it anyways. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to close this. Okay, now similarly, I need to go to the slave VM and set these two IP addresses. Okay, now again the command is go to cd and go write sudo gedit/etc/hosts. Okay, so here also the IP address is set to 102 and 103. Okay, now this is the slave VM, and the IP address of this machine is 103 and the master is 102. Okay, that's the other VM. So I mean, it's the same, so I don't need to make any changes here. I'm just going to close this. Yeah, I can just close it without saving. Now, now that I've done this, I can straight away start pinging or get SSH connection. Okay, I can just say, since this is the slave, I can say SSH space master. Now, since I've added the IP address of the master in the host table, I don't need to specify the IP address of that particular system. I can just say SSH master, and if I put enter, then it'll ask me for the master's password. The other VM's password is what I'm going to put here. And when I put enter, as you can see, I'm logged in now. So the password has been entered, and you can see the last login here. Okay, so the last time I logged in was on this date, and I had logged in from this slave itself. Okay, from this particular VM itself. So to prove that this is the actual master, what I can do is I can just go to CD and I can do an ls command. Okay, I can go into any of these desktop or the downloads or the pictures folders, right? Because I made quite a few changes in my master slave, and from the master slave is where I showed you the earlier files, right? I created the automobile.txt, the file1.txt, the file2.txt. Okay, if you can remember, then my documents has these contents. Okay, it has folder 1, it has automobiles.txt and all these things. So I can just add the same to my slave. So I can just navigate to desktop, and if I do an ls, I get the list of all these things. Okay, so as you can see, there is the automobiles.txt and the readme file in my downloads folder. Okay, now let me go to my master. So in my master, if I go to downloads, I have these two files. Okay, so this is what I mean when I say remote access. So these two VMs are communicating with each other such that the slave is accessing and it's running commands inside the master, and whatever is visible over there, I get access to here. Supposing you want me to open another file. Okay, so the music folder has these three files, right? So I can access these also. I can just say CD and go back one path and say I want to smooth change to music. So when I go here and I do an ls, I have automobiles.txt, file1.txt and file2.txt. So basically these three text files are present in the other VM in the other machine. Okay, they are present over here. However, they are not present in this machine. If you want me to prove that they are not there in this machine, then I can just minimize this, go to in the file directory, go to music. Okay, it's empty. So this basically means that I'm accessing the master VM from this slave VM. Okay, alternatively, you can also check the downloads folder. There's nothing here either. So yeah, that's how we log into the remote machine. And in my case, I've logged into slave from my machine and I've accessed these folders. Okay, I can also view these contents in these folder by going to cat automobiles.txt, and when I hit enter, whatever data set that I created earlier in the session, right, a couple of hours back, so those are visible over here. Okay, so that's it. So another thing is that if you want to exit from your master's machine, right, if you want to exit your SSH shell, then you can just hit exit. Okay, when you hit exit, it says logout. Okay, connection to master is closed. So this shows that now you're back to your own VM. And now if you try going to CD and if you go to music or something, you'll not find any documents or any folders in that particular directory. That's because this is your VM. This is the slave VM. And similarly, I can just from my master's VM also, I can get access to the slave VM by just typing in SSH and slave. The password is this, and this is the last time that was logged in, and I'm here. If I go to CD music and if I do an ls, there's nothing available here. Okay, that's because the slaves VM does not have anything in the music folder or anything in the documents folder. So that is the reason. Okay, and similarly I can exit from here by giving this command exit. It says it's logged out and connection to slave is closed. Okay guys, so this is about the SSH, and this is about the secure shell connection. There is something called as the RSA key. Okay, now that is something that will get generated if there is a firewall. So in my case, I have blocked my firewall by dropping the IP tables. Okay, so the command to drop the IP tables are this one. They are service, IP tables, and stop. Okay, this will drop the IP table temporarily, and if you want to permanently disable the IP table, then you can just run the command sudo check config and IP tables off. So by doing this, your firewall will be turned off and you can use the SSH connection in the way I showed you. Okay, now this is a very simpler way, but in case of a real scenario, okay, where the machine is located remotely, where you cannot actually disable your firewall, okay, because firewall is important to block any unauthorized access, right? So firewall is important to be enabled. So in that case, if you want an SSH connection to be present in spite of a firewall, then there's another procedure where you have to generate an SSH key, right? An RSA key from the master's end and set that key at the slave end. So you have that kind of a process, and that is something that's a little more complicated than this. And of course, that I can't show you now, but I promise to show you that in my next Linux webinar. Okay. So if you guys promise to come back and visit me in that webinar, then I can promise you to show it to you there. All right, guys. So I'm hoping that it's all fine. I'm hoping that you people understood the concepts here, and it's been a good session. It's been pretty long, but it's been worth it, right? Basically, Hemant, who's new to computer science, he says that he's got a lot of he's understood Linux well, and yeah, he also says that he's going to install CentOS. Okay, Hemant, that's good, because even this was CentOS. Maybe this is why you want to install CentOS, but don't just keep yourself restricted to this CentOS, Hemant. You can also install Ubuntu and find out which one you like. So see, I liked CentOS, and this is my preferred Linux distribution. Okay, so I recommend everything Ubuntu and CentOS to you. You can install them, and you work on them, and you will only figure out which is better for you. Okay, so I'm glad that some beginners and newcomers to this Linux world are getting something out of this session. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the session, guys. So let me conclude today's session then. So first, I started off by talking about the birth of Linux. All right, I told you how it was born from Unix and how it gained popularity, and then I spoke about the different Linux distributions that you can choose from. And then I started executing some of the basic Linux commands, and then we worked with files and directories, the different and the basic commands with files and directories, and then I showed you how to work with your Linux repositories, how the tar files work, how to set environment variables, and how to work with the help of regular expressions. Okay, I showed all these things, and then finally I finished today's session by talking about processes, setting up different users, and secured shell connection. So that's it for today, guys. Yep. So guys, that brings us to the end of the session. And if you guys have any doubts, then you can put it now, or you can ask me now, right? So okay, I'm getting a thank you from a couple of people. Okay, so thanks, guys. Thank you for being part of the session. And yeah, it's more than you thanking me. It's me thanking you people for being ever so nice and trying to understand whatever I try to teach you all. Okay, so yeah, I'll log off for today then. Okay, thank you guys, and happy learning. All right, see you all until the next time we meet. Okay, we'll have a session again, and that time I'll probably show you something more advanced in Linux. All right, till then, see you all. Bye. I hope you enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply to them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to our Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!